Hey there, I'm estate planning attorney Paul Rabelais, and this video is really for those single parents of minor children. I'd also say it's for those grandparents out there who have children who are divorced, who have children. So, all right, divorce, unfortunately, these days is common, and it's common when parents have minor children. But in some parents, when they find out what I'm about to tell you, and they find out the consequences of failing to take the appropriate action, they're like, Paul, we got to get this stuff straight right now. What do we do? All right, so, most divorces are difficult, and oftentimes those couples wind up, quite frankly, not liking each other too much. And from an estate planning perspective, here's what divorced parents of minor children flat out need to know. And I always like to give you an example where an example is appropriate. Let's say Dexter Dad and Promiscuous Polly. They got married and they had 2 kids, and their kids are 8 years old and 6 years old, and I'm going to skip all the bad stuff. Let's just say they get divorced. So they split the assets, and their kids are 8 and 6, and there's probably some joint custody arrangement. So Dexter Dad tries to get his life back together, and so he keeps working, and he works very, very hard. He's got to provide for his kids. So he has his 401k at work. He has his IRA from his previous job. He bought some life insurance for his kids so they could go to college. And on that life insurance, he named his 2 kids as the beneficiaries of his life insurance. He named his 2 kids as the beneficiaries on his retirement accounts and his 401k. He took, Promiscuous Polly's name off of all of that. However, Dexter Dad doesn't have a will, doesn't have a trust, has never set up anything for as far as getting his legal affairs in order. But he did work hard, and he has his retirement accounts, he has a new house that he owns, he's got, of course, his truck, he's got some money in the bank, and maybe even Dexter Dad owns a business. So unexpectedly, and let's say the kids are now 11 and 9, Dexter Dad dies unexpectedly, or maybe he got sick and died gradually, but he passed away. And so now that Dexter Dad, as the father of these 2 children, now that he's passed away, well, Promiscuous Polly is now this sole surviving parent and sole guardian of deceased Dexter Dad's 2 children who are 11 and 9. And Dexter Dad knew that if he died, that Promiscuous Polly would be the one who would have all those parental rights and one who would have the right to raise the kids, and he acknowledged that, and so there's nothing he could do about that. But the question becomes, if Dexter Dad died with, let's say, in a state of $1 million, when you add up the life insurance, the IRAs, the house, the money in the bank, even the value of his business, who gets that money, and who controls it? So since Dexter Dad didn't address this, and since his 2 heirs, who are 11 and 9, since there are minors, and since he named his kids as the beneficiaries of his IRAs and his life insurance, minors can't get money. Minors, can't inherit in their own name. So all of that $1 million estate goes to his ex-wife, Promiscuous Polly, to manage as the guardian of Dexter Dad's 2 children. So his ex-wife, who he quite frankly couldn't stand, is now controlling his business, his money, his truck, his retirement money, his life insurance. Promiscuous Polly has her name on all of the accounts. And so, yes, her role is to manage it on the 2 children's behalf, but Dexter has this feeling like, geez, if she just gets her hands on it, no way will it ever get to my kids. But nonetheless, since Dexter Dad didn't address this, Promiscuous Polly controls the money. So that right there has Dexter Dad rolling over in his grave, as they say. And then the next thing that happens is, if there's anything left when Dexter Dad's 2 children reach the age of 18, then if there's anything left for them, it just gets, because Dexter Dad didn't address this, it gets dumped into their lap on their 18th birthday. And so let's say they each get a couple of $100,000 on their 18th birthday. Kids go on a spending spree. They don't enroll for college. Next thing you know, a couple of years later, the kids got nothing. And now perhaps if they have matured a little bit at age 20 or 21 and they want to go back to college, they can't because they blew all the money that was dedicated for their college. So again, for the second time, Dexter's rolling over in his grave. All right, so what should Dexter Dad, what should he have done to try to avoid that scenario? Number one, he should have set up some kind of will or trust, or will with testamentary trust as we call it, and designated that trust as the beneficiary of his IRA, the beneficiary of his life insurance, and he should have designated that all of his estate assets go to that trust when he dies. And he would have provided in that documentation that he would have designated someone to be the trustee for his children. And that someone would not have been Polly. It could have been his parents. It could have been his brother or sister. It could have been some trusted friend or other relative that he had. Could have been some corporate trust department. But nonetheless, he didn't want his ex-wife, promiscuous Polly, controlling all of the money that he left his kids. He wanted somebody that he could trust. So he set all that up. What he should have done was set all that up so when he died, things go to a trust for his two kids, but a much more trusted person is established to handle that money for the kids. Promiscuous Polly doesn't get her fingers on it. And so that would have been real helpful. And sure, he would have provided that if the kids, needed it for their school and their college or for appropriate living expenses, the trustee could have paid for or given them money for those purposes. So that is one thing that he should have done, is designated a trustee other than his ex-wife to manage the money. The second thing that he would have done as part of getting all of this straight is designating the term of how long that trust would last. And what that does is it keeps the kids from getting a big check on their 18th birthday long before they're responsible enough to handle something like that. So he might have said that trust for his kids would have lasted until they're 25, but it could be used before then for education and appropriate living expenses. Could have said that the kids would get control over their inheritance in stages at 25, 30, and 35. He could have given that trustee, maybe his brother, the discretion to determine when his children would be able to control the money. But it wouldn't be controlled by promiscuous Polly, and they wouldn't get it dumped in their lap when they're 18. So that was the key there. So those are the kinds of things that divorced parents with minor children need to make sure they take care of. I mentioned that grandparents of divorced children also should take note, because sometimes it's the grandparents who should be that trustee named and who should control the assets on behalf of the grandchildren. So grandparents need to be aware of that. Perhaps they can have a talk with their divorced children about that. All right, one other important point is I want you to make sure you whack the like button. It doesn't cost anything, but it tells the YouTube algorithms to show Paul's videos to more people. If you haven't already, join the 10,000 plus subscribers by hitting the subscribe button so you won't miss anything in the future as I keep producing these estate planning videos. Y'all have a great day. Y'all take care.